Good morning. Good morning. Hello.
Good morning, sir.
Morning. Today is our last session. Uh, my plan is to have some the kind of revision session and discuss one of the past papers, the latest one. If you have time, we will discuss the two papers. The September 2019 paper, I believe you have a copy of that, but I have uploaded that thing, no problem. And at the same time, you can buy this model answers and the prepared by the IBSL for that paper. So I'm not quite sure price is around 200, or I'm not quite sure. You can buy that also. Now this is high time to practice the past papers with the model answers, no problem. Jadi, when you practice the past paper, get the past paper without looking at the answer, first you try to answer using the notes, handouts, and the quizzes, whether you are in a position to handle those questions, answer those questions. After that, if you are not comfortable, then you can go through the model answers. That should be the way. Otherwise, don't straight away read. Go to the model answer and read the answer and just by heart that. That is not the way to do the revision, right? To prepare for the exams, right? First, it's up to you. First, you yourself has to go through, try the questions. Okay. Now this paper. Here's the paper, 2019 paper. We have altogether 8 questions. 8 questions. Question number 1 is compulsory. The balance 7 questions are optional. Out of these 7 questions, you have to select 4 questions. So altogether, you have to answer 5 questions, 20 marks each, 100. Now this it's very interesting thing about this paper is you are getting 15 minutes to read the paper. Right? 15 minutes is quite a lot. 15 minutes to read the paper. After that, you can start answering 3-hour paper. Right? So this 15 minutes is very important. Go through the paper. And first question, you don't have any choice. So from second to 8 question, you go through and just roughly mark. Okay, these are the questions I am going to answer. I can try those questions. So that is important. One thing. Now the question paper. The 4 questions, the 7 questions, all consist of 4 parts. That is the fixed rule. So except the first question, other question, 4 parts, right? 4 questions, the 5 marks each, 5 into 4, 20, 5 into 4, 20, right? When you are when the examiner set these 4 parts, so the first 2-3 questions are maybe easier questions. For example, demand supply equation is given, you have to calculate equilibrium, price, and quantity. Then sometimes some elasticity. Third questions, again the interpretation. Fourth question maybe open interpretation, policy oriented thing. So that's why it's a ascending order. So the first question very easy. After that, little bit the difficult. That difficult, then most difficult or the open question is the fourth part. That is the technique of setting the paper, right? Okay. Calculators, silent, non-programmable calculators may be used for calculation. No problem. Non-programmable. You are allowed to bring your calculator there, but remember it should not be the programmable one. So that's it about the paper. Reading the paper is must. Selecting the questions is must. Proper questions, because I have been marking the economics paper for about last I'm not quite sure 20 years, right? So from my experience, I can say the most important thing is selecting the proper questions. So some students try very difficult question or difficult questions, keeping the easy questions left, right? That's not the way. So you have to go through the paper and select the question. Other thing is, once you answer the questions, if you think it is not a good answer, don't cut the answer and try another question. Let it be, leave it that be, because it's up to the examiners to mark all the questions, because we will have the difficult job. We have to work a lot. We mark all the questions you have answered, then we cut the least marks question. If you have answered 7 questions, because the 2 additional question, how to eliminate the 2 additional least marks question, we cut. That's all. That's a very good answer, right? But in other countries, I know some of the countries, LSE, the London exams, whether you have answered, if you are supposed to answer 5 questions, suppose you have write 7 questions, they don't consider. They mark first 5 answers only. Last 2 answers left out. So that is a possible, that is a cost cutting method. Otherwise, you have to, examiners will have to answer have more jobs now, the difficult jobs, marking all these 7 questions. Here, their practice is first 5 questions are marked. If supposed to answer first 5 questions, they mark that all. Others left out. Here it is, in Sri Lanka it is different. We are supposed to mark, examiners supposed to mark all the questions, all the answers, then cut the least marks question answers, right? Okay, that is about being, don't cut these answers, selection of questions, right? Okay, now we'll on this paper, both macro and micro, right? Microeconomics and macroeconomics. So first questions, we don't know. First question covers both micro and macro. So some are micro questions, some are macro questions. Sometimes they might ask about elasticity question, micro, or some questions maybe about the budget deficit, balance of payment, macro issues, right? But from question number 2 to 8 question, there are maybe the 2 to 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7 questions. Maybe sometimes half, not half, 5 micro, 7 questions, 3 micro, 4 macro, or the 4 micro, 3 macro, something like that. But the second question is, of course, in every paper, second question is a macro question. Macro question. So the second question, if you go to the second question, is the first question, and this is a macro question, purely macro. All the macroeconomic indicators on the Sri Lankan, this is actual data related to the Central Bank annual report is given. So then you have to analyze. This is open question. Open questions. If you are familiar with, if you have gone through these macroeconomic indicators properly, understood the macroeconomic indicators, what the implication, you can easily score this. From my experience, actually, students don't try this question, but I would like to recommend you to try this question, because you can easily score them. That's very important. The open question, challenging question maybe macro indicator, real GDP, GNI, broad money growth, trade balance, budget deficit, official reserve. All are macroeconomic indicators, central government debt, annual average. All are macroeconomic indicators. Then then we are left with the 6 questions. First question compulsory, second question macro. Then balance 6 questions. Maybe 3 micro, 3 macro. Right. Okay. Now the first question. Okay. Then now today actually I will first discuss what we have so far discussed. So the first we started with the basic macroeconomic issues. Because we started the course using defining, understanding the basic macroeconomic issue, the scarcity. After that, we explain various concepts: opportunity cost, efficient allocation of resources, inefficient allocation of resources, unemployed resources, economic growth, production possibility frontier. Right? These issues, basic concepts were discussed. Then macro, micro, we differentiated macro statement, micro statement. In microeconomics, we see the economy through a microscope. Macroeconomics is see the economy through a telescope. So microeconomics, therefore, we can see small things: consumer, producer, market structure. But the macroeconomics, big things, meta things, unemployment, balance of payment, national accounts, right? Then the exchange rate, the government budget, like that. Macro issues are discussed. Right? Then the next chapter we discuss about the demand and supply, theory of demand, demand curve, supply curve, equilibrium price and quantity, shifting of demand and supply curve. Demand curve can shift up due to some changes in the factors. Other factors, supply curve can shift down, up or down due to the changes in the other factors that may affect the supply curve. You have to know about these things, right? Equilibrium, price and quantity, shifting of demand and supply curves. Shifting of demand and supply curves. Then we discuss the elasticity, quantitative, the indicator of the demand curve. So we know demand curve is downward sloping. But if someone wants to know, okay, if I increase the price by 10%, by how much demand changes, demand decreases for a given good? Elasticity, concept of elasticity, we discuss next. Price elasticity of demand, income elasticity of demand, cross price elasticity of demand, the price elasticity of supply. Right? I'm not going to discuss this in detail. You have to know definitions, interpretations, applications. Definitions, interpretations, application. So the definition is very easy. What is price elasticity of demand? The percentage change in quantity demanded of a good or service when price of that good or service changes by 1%. Income elasticity of demand, percentage change in quantity demanded of a good or service when income changes by 1%. Consumer's income changes by 1%. Like that. CPED, cross price elasticity of demand, two goods, tea and coffee, tea and milk. Right. Then the percentage change in quantity demanded of good A when price of good B changes by 1%. Cross price. Then depending on the sign, we identify various goods. For substitutes, the cross price elasticity positive, or for the complementary good, cross price elasticity of demand negative. Similarly, the income elasticity of demand is positive for normal, negative for an inferior good. Then it is greater than 1 for luxury goods, between 0 and 1 for necessity goods. Now these definitions are important, right? So application, then we discuss in detail about the price elasticity of demand. Factors that may affect the price elasticity of demand, the availability of substitutes. More substitutes are available, demand is more elastic. No substitutes are available, demand is perfectly inelastic. We discuss insulin versus the toothpaste. Insulin, you don't have substitutes. You don't have substitute. If your doctor prescribes 3 tablets per day, you have to consume, you have to buy, you have to use that, the drug, whatever the price. So therefore, price elastic demand is perfectly inelastic. That is a necessity. No substitute for that good, right? The insulin, of course, you can say, okay, there are substitute products, but the insulin as a group, as an one product, there is no substitute, right? Insulin, you have to use that. Then then that is income elasticity of demand. Then a proportion of income spent on the good. Third one is the time trend. Some goods, over time, demand will become more elastic. In the short run, demand is less elastic, but in the long run, demand will be more elastic. Why is that? In the long run, for example, fuel. The short run, very short run period, 1972-73 period, demand, price elasticity demand was relatively, it is always inelastic, but highly inelastic, right? But once the scientists, the world found substitutes, wind power, the nuclear power, coal power, the biogas, then what happens? Gradually, more and more substitutes come into the market. Demand become flatter. Demand curve will become flatter, elastic. Long run elastic, short run inelastic, right? Then we discuss all these things, the demand. Then the applications of the price elasticity of demand, because I'm not going to discuss all these things. The application of the price elasticity of demand, when the demand could be elastic, absolute value greater than 1. Inelastic, absolute value less than 1. Perfectly inelastic, absolute value 0. These are the things. But the thing is, when the price elasticity of demand is inelastic, when the price increases, when the trader increase the price, seller increase the price, seller's revenue increases. Inelastic demand. If the demand is elastic, when price increases, people cut down the demand more than the price change, therefore revenue decreases. Perfectly inelastic, whatever the price you increase or decrease, certain percentage, revenue won't change. If it is unitary elastic, if the demand is unitary elastic, when you increase the price by 1%, people cut down the demand by 1%. If you reduce the price by 1%, people increase the demand by 1%. No change in revenue. For example, the price elastic demand for cigarettes inelastic, tobacco products inelastic, the liquor inelastic. Therefore, what happened? Every government maybe in order to increase the tax revenue, they increase the price. Inelastic demand, price increases. Inelastic demand, price increases, revenue increases. Right. These are the important points. Then after that, we discuss theory of consumer behavior. Well, first I'll summarize micro. Then we come to the micro questions in this book, the question paper. Then we discuss theory of consumer behavior. Consumer's objective is to maximize utility. Then you ask the question, can the utility be measurable? No. But there are two theories about cardinal measure of utility. Assuming utility satisfaction is measurable, economists develop a theory. Second approach, ordinal approach. Assuming utility cannot be measured, but consumer can rank different bundles according to his preference. The theory of consumer behavior, they develop the theory, but both same. At one point, they converges. Quantitative, the marginal utility approach or the indifference curve approach, the same. Right? Then we discuss. Excuse me. Discuss the consumer's problem in the market economy. Consumer's problem. What is consumer's problem? Consumer, on the one hand, consumer wants to get the maximum satisfaction by consuming good. Maximum satisfaction. But he has some constraints. His income is limited. Right? So some period, of course. He's a price taker in a free enterprise economic system. Free enterprise economic system, we assume consumers are price takers. You cannot change it, influence the market price. Therefore, his budget, in other words, his budget is limited. He is facing some constraint. On the one hand, consumer want to attain the maximum profit, maximum utility, get the maximum utility, maximum satisfaction, but he has some constraint, limitation. Then we can state the consumer's problem in a free enterprise economic system is to maximize the utility subject to budget constraint. That is the consumer's problem. This was one of the questions in the paper. Explain the consumer's problem in a market economy or the free enterprise economic system. Then you have to explain the utility and the budget constraint, then optimization problem. Maximize utility subject to budget constraint. That is the problem. Similarly, the problem of the firm's problem objective is to maximize profit or minimize cost subject to some constraint, cost constraint. Your budget is fixed, annual budget, annual board of directors might say, okay, this year we are going to spend only 400 million by activities. Then you have to decide the profit maximizing or the cost minimizing output level subject to this constraint. Profit maximization, right? Similarly, that is the objective of a consumer. Then the question is, what is a budget? Budget is a combination of consumers' income, prices of the goods. They are coming from, they are exogenous. They are outside the system. The consumer doesn't have any control over these the variable. Therefore, it is exogenous. It's a budget constraint. Then, at the utility maximizing point, what is the condition? What should be the condition? That is the basic question. At the utility maximizing point, what is the condition? Condition is consumer allocate. Suppose there are two goods. Allocate his rupee income so that they get the same marginal utility per rupee you spend. If you spend a rupee on bread, a rupee on the dal, at the utility maximizing combination, both these commodities should derive the same marginal utility from a rupee. That is the utility maximizing point. If the bread generates more utility, more satisfaction from a rupee than the dal, then consumer will start buying more and more bread. If dal generate more utility per rupee, then consumers will start consuming more and more dal. Something like that. So that is the condition. We have discussed two approaches. This is the first approach, marginal utility. Indifference curve approach, indifference curve, budget line, tangency point. Indifference curve, generally indifference curves are convex to the origin. They do not intersect. Higher the indifference curve, higher the utility. Then the budget constraint, limit, feasible set, limit the affordable bundle of set. Then tangency point, indifference curve convex. Tangency point is the indicate the utility maximizing point. Right? That is at that point, slope of an indifference curve is equal to slope of the budget line. Slope of an indifference curve, in this paper you have a question. Slope of an indifference curve is called marginal rate of substitution, MRS, between two goods, two good economy, X and Y. Dal and bread, marginal rate of substitution between dal and bread. Marginal rate of substitution between X and Y. What is that? MRS is the consumer's willingness to substitute good Y or the one good to get one more unit of the other good. That is MRS. Suppose MRS is 4. What does that mean? The consumer is willing to substitute one good, 4 units of one good to get one more unit of the other good. MRS. In the free enterprise economic system, we all are different. One aspect is MRS is different. Very rarely we have same MRSs, but MRS is different, right? So because that's why we are identical. Marginal rate of substitution. Then after that we discussed theory of firm. At the beginning we said firm has so many objectives: revenue maximization, cost minimization, get the high return for their investment, expand their market share, profit maximization. So of all these the objectives, we said profit maximization is a very reasonable and realistic assumption of a behavior of a consumer, behavior of a firm. Reasonable, realistic. Because profit maximization is not the sole objective, but there are so many other objectives. For example, Brandix, the MAS, right? They may want to expand the market share, penetrate to the world markets, other countries, right? The banking sector, commercial banks, private bank may want to start branches in other countries. Then at that time, they are profit maximizing. The objective may be a secondary one, right? But generally, we assume profit maximization is the key objective of a firm. Key objective of a firm, right? Profit is the difference between revenue and the cost. Revenue is how much the firm can earn by selling the product annually or quarterly, halfly, annually, how much the given firm can earn the output. Price is price given by the demand curve or shown by the demand curve. Then quantity demand, that quantity is decided by the firm. Then the revenue is the revenue generated by the price into quantity is equal to price into quantity. Cost is, there are two types of cost: accounting cost, opportunity cost. Accounting cost, income statements; opportunity cost, income statement. Accounting cost, profit and loss account; opportunity cost, profit and loss account. That's a huge difference, because the present world, almost all the institutions, companies, banks, almost all the institutions use the what you call the accounting cost approach. They don't use opportunity cost approach. Accounting cost approach. What is the difference? The opportunity cost approach, in addition to this accounting cost, you add opportunity cost of factors of production. What is opportunity cost? Opportunity cost of a worker, staff worker. What is the opportunity cost? Suppose he can earn by working in some other place. How much does this firm can earn by working in other place? He's getting some salary here. If he's working some other place, if you can get higher salary, then difference is the opportunity cost is, yeah, he's giving up. He's foregone that salary. Sometimes here you net out to get that salary and the difference, these things. But you opportunity cost, foregone cost is that by working, being an employed in this firm, in this company, you are foregone. You are being foregoing that salary, opportunity cost. So when the opportunity cost, so therefore generally opportunity cost, the total cost. Opportunity cost, total cost is, if you use the opportunity cost approach, total cost is the accounting cost plus opportunity cost of factors of production. So the accounting profit is revenue minus accounting cost. Revenue minus accounting cost, we all are familiar. If you see any firm, accounting cost. But the profit in terms of opportunity cost approach, revenue, same, minus accounting cost, minus opportunity cost of factors of production, right? So that profit is called above normal profit, abnormal profit, supernormal profit. Various names are given, right? So supernormal profit is super. As the name indicates, is the best approach. The company is making supernormal profit, that is sure, that's the best company, right? Supernormal profit, how do you derive? Revenue minus accounting cost and the opportunity cost. Over and above the both these cost component, you are making profit. Then that is good. That is the opportunity cost. So we discuss. Then we discuss cost. Short run cost, long run cost. Short run cost and long run. So you have to understand the difference between short run and long run. You can't say 2 years short run, 4 years, more than 2 years long run. No. In economics, you don't have that this approach to short run and long run. What is short run? In the short run, company has some fixed factor. Labor and capital are the inputs. Sometimes maybe capital may be the fixed factor, labor could be the fixed factor. So if the capital is a fixed factor, labor is the variable factor. But in the long run, no fixed factor. Labor is a variable, capital is a variable. company can hire any number of workers, company can buy any number of computers, company can expand their factory size, company can change the scope of the business. Browns, export company, Hemas, export company, then now they have these hospitals. Scope of the company have been changed, right? So in the long run, anything can happen. But short run, fixed factor. Because there is a fixed factor, there is a fixed cost. So the total cost of production, you have the variable cost plus the fixed cost. In the long run, no fixed cost. All are variable. Firm can increase the output, either increasing labor in the long run, or increasing capital, or increasing both. In the long run, if they want to increase the output, they can either increase labor, increase capital, that is all the way, increase both. But in the short run, story is different. In the short run, if they want to increase the output, definitely they'll have to change, increase the variable factor. Fixed factor is fixed. You have 4 computers, can hire any number of workers. If they want to increase, company wants to increase the output by employing more and more labor, they can increase the output. But the number of computers fixed, capital fixed. That is another way to increase the output. You don't your fixed factors, 4 computers. Labor is the variable factor. You have 3 workers. One way to increase the output is you increase 3 workers, 4 workers, 5 workers, 6 workers, 7 workers, change the head count. That is one approach to increase the output. That is another way. What is the second approach? You have 3 workers, 4 computers. You want to increase the output. How do you do that? Answer me. 3 workers, 4 computers. Computers fixed factor. You want to increase the output. How do you increase the output? Answer me. Answer. Anyone, can you answer? How do you answer? How does the firm increase the output? Without changing labor or capital. Capital is fixed, but you can change labor. Without changing labor, how does this firm increase the output? Tell me, please. By increasing productivity. Output per worker. Either labor, at the moment they are producing 2 shirts per day. Then if you can train him to increase 4 shirts per day, 3 workers, they are producing more. Their productivity is higher. Either you can increase the productivity or increase the head count. Right? Now in Sri Lankan case, our productivity level, labor productivity is relative to other countries very low. Labor productivity in Japan, labor productivity in USA, labor productivity in some of the Middle East countries, Switzerland, our productivity level is very low. So we are educated, highly educated. Literacy rate is very high. We can capture, when you are literate, you can understand the working of any machine, any sophisticated machine, electronic machine quickly, you can catch up. That's why foreign investors would like to come to that kind of countries. When the literacy rate is a very important indicator. They don't want to go to the some of the African countries where literacy rate is very low. Ours is around 90, 95, 92, very high. But some countries very low, 20, 10, very low. They don't want to go because they can understand labor force is foolish. They can understand anything. But here we are lucky. Our people can understand working of anything very quickly, catch up things, right? So that is labor productivity is the key factor when compared to other countries. But still our productivity is very low. That's the thing. So that is about the theory of firm. We discussed profits, revenue minus cost, 2 concepts of cost, then the cost of production, then the labor productivity. Now we discuss the shapes of the short run and the long run. Short run behavior of the cost curves, long run behavior of the cost curves. Short run, long run, maybe both cost curves are U-shaped generally. MC curve is U-shaped, short run. Long run MC curve is U-shaped. If they ask question, why? What is the reason? Reason is because we have discussed the questions also. 10:30, yes, 20. 10:30, no? 10:30, 11, yes, right. Then the short run. Shape of the short run cost curves are explained using the diminishing the marginal product of variable factor. If the variable factor is labor, the diminishing marginal product of labor. It is also called the diminishing returns. Diminishing returns, right? Diminishing productivity of variable factor, diminishing marginal product of labor, or if it is labor, diminishing returns. Long run cost curve, U-shape long run cost curve is explained using return to scale. Long run AC curve is U-shape. We use increasing return to scale, decreasing return to scale. If the AC curve is like U-shaped curve, falling part is explained using the increasing return to scale, constant return to scale, decreasing return to scale. So two concepts, two economic concepts. You have to know the basic definition about these things, right? Okay. That is then the market structure. Last topic. We discussed perfectly competitive market structure and monopoly market in detail. Oligopoly market, some of the characteristics, right? Monopolistic competition, some characteristics we discussed. But you have to know competitive market structure very well. Large number of characteristic of the competitive market structure, large number of firms, homogeneous product, no entry exit barriers, perfect information. Large number of firms, the homogeneous product, no entry exit barriers, perfect information. Right? Now, if you can, then monopoly market, pure monopoly, one producer, Ceylon Tobacco, electricity board, electricity generation, hydropower generation, right? Water board, distribution of water, right? Monopoly market, right? Then you have in between, you have monopolistic competition. Some characteristics are like competitive market, some are like monopoly market, monopolistic competition. Then you have the oligopoly market. Oligopoly market is different from all the other market structures. Oligopolist, different from all the other market structures. Why is that? Oligopolists behave strategically. Oligopolists behave strategically. Good example in Sri Lankan case, not only in Sri Lanka, even other countries also, banking sector, commercial banks, around 25 commercial banks. We have banks, banking sector, banking industry, there are 25 players, banks, they behave strategically. What is strategic behavior? When one bank take decision, they consider what is going on the response of other banks or what is going in the market. Your condition, decisions depend on function of what other people are doing. To take decision, taking into account what other people are doing. That is the strategic behavior. Strategic behavior. When the bank wants to introduce a new account for minors, let's say, then they study. Okay, what are the existing minor accounts? What are the interest rate structure? So accordingly they decide the package, their program, the package. So then that is the strategic behavior. Oligopolists behave strategically. Oligopoly market is, so therefore when oligopolists behave strategically, now other market structures, competitive market structure firms, independent. You don't care what other firms are doing. One firm, you independently take decision. You are a price taker anyway. Monopolist, pure monopoly, you need not to behave strategically because you are the only industry. No competitor, have no strategic behavior, right? So therefore, the oligopoly market, monopolistic competition also, firms monopolize. You have your own market, toothpaste, Flowguard, then the Colgate, Signal, Sudhanta, TNG, like that. Large number of small markets, small markets, small monopolies, like monopolies. But the oligopoly market is firms behave strategically. Because these firms behave strategically, it's very difficult to give one nice single model to explain their behavior. Like in the normal society, people behave strategically. Now in our behavior, some decision we taking strategically, some are independently. Some strategically, some are independent. That is the normal, very reasonable approach. You can't say independently take decisions. All decisions are taken independently. No. But general behavior is some are strategical. You going on, you see what other people are doing, what are the going designs, models, the available, the patterns. Then you take decision. Some you take independently. So but the thing is nowadays the present generation and the conflict between parents and this the children. Main reason is the children want to be independent. But the parents want their children to be strategic. That is the issue. Don't intervene my matters, my issues, right? My matters. This is my life. That's how the younger generation now thinks. Most totally, not all. The amma, tata, this is my life. Right? Don't intervene. But the parents wants them to be strategic when they study, when they work. So then, because the parents are in this world for a long time, but 40 years, 60, 70 years, they have more experience, more knowledge, more sense. But the children say, no, you don't have, you don't know. I am the only the person know everything about decide about myself. No, parents are here for a long time. They have the experience. That the conflict is due to the this strategic behavior. Children want to be independent. Parents want them to be strategic. Right? That is the issue. So then the oligopolies behave strategically. Because in the papers they ask, give example for oligopoly market. Give example for oligopoly markets. Sometimes they ask question. Right? So market structures. From that point, we'll stop the discussion micro. Then we go to some of the micro question, not all micro questions, some basic question. Then after that, we'll start macro. Again, the questions we discuss. Right, okay. Question number 1, quickly we decide. Please take the question paper. I believe you have the paper. Answer the following multiple choice questions by selecting the most suitable answer. Now, these multiple choice questions, there are 10 parts. 1 to 10. First 5 are, each question of the first 5, you have 4 responses. You have to select the correct answer. Only one correct answer. Next 5 questions are about the Sri Lankan economy. This is the structure. Basically, Sri Lankan economy, right? Some numbers, economic growth rate, inflation. Not the Sri Lankan economy, but theoretically, this some filling the blank question. 5 filling the blank question, 5 multiple choice. Okay. The fundamental economic problem is associated with what is the correct response? Mismatch between the revenue and expenditure? No. Macro issue. The level of the money supply exceeding output of goods and services? No. Availability of resources relative to the required quantity and quality? Yes. That is the question. What is the fundamental problem? Scarcity of resources in relation to human wants. The value of imports, last one, exceeding the value of exports? No. That is a trade balance. No. So, correct response C. We discuss fundamental economic problem, scarcity of resources in relation to human want. Resources, land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. Wants, goods and services. Microeconomics focuses on all of the following except the effect of a rise in petroleum price on petrol sales, micro. The effect of a rise in money supply on inflation, macro. The effect of a rise in wages on profitability of a company, micro. Effect of rise in rainfall on paddy production, micro. So what is not micro issue? Effect of a rise in money supply on inflation. That is macro. Right? All other, the three micro. Only two is the macro. It is not micro. That is the answer, correct answer. Change in fiscal policy could affect the balance of payment through excuse me. Hello, Edri. Class again. Can I? Right. Pasal okay. Bang class again. Change in fiscal policy could affect the balance of payments through the capital account only, the current account only, both the current and capital accounts, neither current and the account, no capital account. Now, if we change in fiscal policy could affect the balance of payments through the current capital account, the current account, both current and capital accounts, neither current and capital. Now, this question is a bit confusing because in the fiscal policy budget, you have current and capital account. In the balance of payment, you have current and capital account. So then the change in fiscal policy could affect the balance of payments through. So fiscal policy changes could affect. This is about the fiscal policy decisions are taken. Then how did it transmit to the balance of payment? Balance of payment through the capital account, current account, or the current and capital account. Answer is both current and capital account. Some policies, fiscal policy measures can affect the balance of payment through the current account. Fiscal import restrictions. Now, this government, just after the corona, the COVID-19, because lots of foreign exchange drain was there, huge drain foreign exchange. So we need foreign exchange. That is our assets, foreign assets. So then the government put some caps on the ban on importation of non-necessary item vehicles. They are not permitted to import, right? Only necessary items, food items, raw materials, investment items necessary for the production process are allowed, but other medical items, they are allowed. The crude oil, they are allowed. But the others, non-necessary items, especially vehicles, then they are not allowed. So that is to stop this draining of the foreign exchange, dollars, foreign exchange from the economy. So that affects the balance of payment, import. That is a fiscal policy decision that affect the treasury decision, affect the balance of payment through the current account. Maybe capital account also affected, right? Capital drain, stop. Draining of capital. So they like that. Fiscal policies are the policies related to government expenditure, revenue, tax revenue or non-tax revenue, and the financing of budget deficit or utilization of budget surplus, right? Policies related to it, right? Increase in taxes or the reduction in taxes, increase in VAT, reduction in VAT, right? These are the policies. Hiring of, for example, unemployed graduates. Definitely, by government budget revenue expenditure increases. Government will have to find money for payment. Now, this undergraduate, the recently employed undergraduate is paid. I heard that it's 20,000 per month. So the 20,000 into, I don't know how many 70,000, 50,000 graduates. So you have to 20,000, 50,000, let's say. I don't know, 25,000. 20,000, let's calculate is 25,000. 20,000 into the 25,000, how many graduates? 25,000. That means another additional 500 million rupees. 500 million rupees, government will have to find additional 500 million. So budget expenditure increases. Government expenditure increases by 500 million. Budget deficit increased by 500 million. So somehow the government has to find money through taxation. Taxes, the tax revenue, increasing taxes, or the efficiency in tax collection. So it is, answer is both current and capital account. In a graph with the price on vertical axis. Now there is a micro question. First two questions are micro. Third question, macro. Fourth question, in a graph with the price on the vertical axis and quantity on the horizontal axis, the demand on a curve parallel to the horizontal axis. Demand curve. That curve can be vertical, horizontal, or downward sloping. Vertical mean perfectly inelastic. Downward sloping relatively inelastic. Horizontal mean perfectly elastic. Price elastic demand infinity. Perfectly. Very small change in price, infinitely large change in quantity demanded. That's why it is called perfectly elastic. Perfectly inelastic, whatever the price, change in price, percentage change in price, quantity demanded, change in quantity demanded is zero. Insulin. Right? That is the perfectly inelastic. Generally relatively inelastic demand or elastic demand. So the in a graph with the price on the vertical axis, quantity on the horizontal axis, the demand on a curve parallel to the horizontal axis, perfectly price elastic. That is perfectly price elastic, perfectly price inelastic, unitary price elastic, price inelastic. Answer is perfectly price elastic. Unitary price elastic demand curve is rectangular hyperbola. So curve. In the theory we have discussed rectangular hyperbola. That is a unit price elastic. So then okay. The combination of policies that the Central Bank of Sri Lanka could implement to boost private sector credit of the banking system is to increase reserve. Now this is a macro issue, macro monetary policy issue. Reserve ratio, cut policy rates. Reserve ratio, policy rates, and raise policy rates. Reduce reserve ratio and raise policy rates. Right. Reserve ratio and the policy rates. Policy rates are used to influence the total money supply in the economy. Money supply in the economy. The interest rate structure of the economy. Right. What is reserve ratio? So the commercial banks are supposed to keep certain percentage of the deposit liabilities from the of the demand with the central bank, right? So demand deposits, the fixed deposit, the government central bank has defined these are the liabilities, demand liabilities of this the demand deposits. You have to keep, if your total is 100, 10%, 10 rupees should be kept with the central bank reserve ratio. If reserve ratio decreases, banks have more money to lend. Lending increases, right? Then the private sector credit increases. When reserve ratio decreases, private sector credit decreases. And banks have more money. If reserve ratio increases, banks, the credit creative facility decreases, ability decreases, because more money has to be kept in the central bank. So the private sector credit decreases. They can't lend more money to the private sector. So increasing reserve ratio. Then policy rates, policy rate increasing. So to increase the boost the private sector rate, you have to decrease the reserve ratio. Decrease the reserve ratio, banks has more money. Then they can lend money. They can encourage investors. Private sector credit. Then the first part, reduce reserve ratio. Then the policy rates, repo rate, standing deposit rate, standing the lending rate, repo rate or the reverse repo rate. You have to reduce the repo repo rate. Repo rate is at the end of the day, banks can deposit their excess money with the central bank. So interest earned to be paid on this excess liquidity is called repo rate, deposit rate. Lending rate, when the bank can get the borrow money from the central bank as a lender of last resort bank. Sorry, the bank can get money for the quick money. That is a reverse repo rate, lending rate, deposit rate, repo rate, right? Then when these rates decreases, when repo rate decreases or reverse repo rate decreases, banks will have more and more money. They can lend money to the increased private sector credit. Therefore, what is the correct answer? Reduce reserve ratio and cut policy rate. Part D. Reduce reserve ratio and cut policy rate. Yes, correct. the workings are very important, right? These are monetary policy measures. Central bank does not directly ask commercial banks to cut the rate, interest rate, FD rates, the 6 months FD rate, 1 year FD rate, the lending rates. No, central bank can change the policies, interest rates coming under their purview. Then that will send signal to the, that will remit signal to the commercial banks. Commercial bank accordingly reduce that. When the reserve ratio cuts, bank will have more money. Definitely, they have to cut the rates and they have to cut the rates and give more money to the investors. Right? That's the thing. So the bank change, central bank change this rate. Now recently, with the COVID, you may remember the president, where the central bank officials had a meeting with the president. The president was a bit angry about the central bank, the officials, their decisions. But the thing is, central bank argument is that already they had taken some good decisions. So that was there. We don't know. We are not going to comment on that. But the central bank is defending their position, president defending their position. But the thing is, the overall the interest rate coming down. As a result, whole interest rate has come down in the country. In the country now. Now we are moving toward the low interest rate regime. FD rate 1 year ago 12%, 10%, 9%. Now FD rate is around 5 to 6%. Interest rates are coming down. So we are moving toward the low interest rate regime. Low interest rate, maybe low inflation. But the growth rate is negative. Remember, first quarter growth rate, projected growth rate is minus 1.6. Minus 1.6. This year's annual growth rate also negative, as I can remember, minus 5.2. Right, all over the world, growth rates were negative. New Zealand, Australia, the US, like developed countries, the India, the Pakistan, Sri Lanka, developing country, growth rate negative. That is because of this the disruptions problem came with this the COVID issue, right? Now I am not going to, I can't discuss these things because these numbers, some of these numbers coming from, we can say, for example, Sri Lanka's economy contracted this year. If they are the same question, first quarter 2020, if they are contracted by 1.6% in the first quarter 2020. That was the, for example, if they include the question for this similar question, Sri Lanka's economy grew, stroke, we have to, if I am the examiner, I will introduce two: grew, contracted. You have to decide. 1.6% in the first quarter 2020. Express your answer in the first decimal, right? 1.6. Okay, I'm a bit tired. The producer's demand for a factor of production is governed by the what? Demand for labor, demand for capital. Demand depends on productivity of that factor. Marginal product of labor, marginal productivity of that factor. In the free enterprise economic system, companies, they hire workers, they increase their workforce as long as the productivity higher than the wage rate, they hire more and more workers. If the marginal productivity less than the wage rate, they cut their workers, wage rate, the workforce. When the MPL, marginal product of labor, equals the wage rate, they stop that is the equilibrium level of labor, the marginal product of labor, marginal productivity. Right. When a choice is made in favor of one option among many available ones, the value of the second best alternative that was sacrificed in making the decision is called opportunity cost. Opportunity cost. Second best alternative, cost of foregone cost. An increase in the level of output without increasing the levels of inputs is called increasing the level of output without increasing the levels of input is known as the productivity, increasing productivity, yes. the productivity, yes. Increase as we discussed now. I gave that example. If the company has 3 workers, 4 computers, and the number of computers fixed, if they want to increase the output without changing the 3 workers, only way to increase the output is increase their productivity, output per day, productivity per worker. So that is the answer to that one. Economic condition associated with high inflation and low economic growth. High inflation and low economic growth is called a stagflation. Stagnated, high inflation, stagflation. Now this is a good question. So this time the world is now experiencing recession, low economic growth, negative economic growth, right? Along with the recession, low economic growth, maybe prices may be coming down. World oil prices due to COVID period, oil price went down to $30. Generally, it is around $70 per barrel, $40, $30. One time it was around $25 per barrel. No demand for oil, right? Economic growth negative. Price level came down. Recession condition. Recession. Because the COVID, that was the main culprit is this COVID. Recession condition was there, right? Now we want to come out with this recession condition. We want to increase the output, right? Economic growth rate. Micro question now. Second question is macro. I don't think we have time to discuss all the question 1139. Anyway, at least if we'll discuss one the micro question. This one, question number 3. Yes, this is an easy question. Generally, the paper third question is generally, if you look at the past papers, the third question is micro. Second question macro. Third question micro. The study of the behavior of consumers as well as that of production process provides useful insight for entrepreneurs to make effective decisions. Explain briefly at least 5 factors that affect the demand for goods. Price of the good, prices of other goods, complements or substitutes, consumer's income, expected future price of the good. Today's demand depends on tomorrow's price. Expected future price of the good, maybe number of consumers. 5 factors. Explain briefly at least 5 factors. That is a purely theory. You should be able to get a full mark for that one. No open question, right? Briefly explain at least 5 factors that affect the supply of goods. Price of the good, prices of factors of production, price of land, labor, the capital, maybe raw material price, electricity price, factors of production. Then technology, expected future price of the good. Expected future, for example, if farmers believe next quarter big onion price will be higher than this quarter, next season big onion price will be higher than this season, then what do? They increase the production of, start growing more and more big onion. Then what will happen? More supply, more and more will be supplied to the market, price will come down. Then what will happen? Following quarter, they don't grow that one. Low price, no? Then price will increase. That is called cobweb model. Cobweb model. Price increases, price decreases. The price increases, people grow more. Price decreases, people cut their production. Price increases, then people grow more. Price decreases, like that. Cobweb model. That is these things happening. The expected future price. Then number of firms. Discuss briefly with an illustration how the concept of marginal rate of substitution helps to explain the behavior of a consumer. MRS is the slope of the indifference curve. I believe you all have gone through your notes, right? Indifference curve. Marginal rate of substitution is the slope of the indifference curve. That is, what is MRS? MRS is 4. Consumer is willing to substitute 4 units of one good to get 1 more units of the other good. dy by dx, for example, small change in y with respect to small change in X, right? So the MRS. Consumer theory, when MRS equal the slope of the budget line, price ratio. Slope of the the budget line is the price ratio, PY over PXO PY. MRS is the slope of the indifference curve. When these two slopes same, just touch, at that point, consumer maximizes utility. At that combination of goods X and Y indicate the utility maximizing combination of good X and Y. But in the condition, MRS should be equal to the relative price, PXO PY. PXO PY. Slope of the indifference curve should be equal to slope of the budget line. That is the condition. Utility maximizing condition in terms of the indifference curve approach. Right? Last one, explain briefly with an illustration how the concept of MRTS, marginal rate of technical substitution, helps the producer to make effectively. I think MRTS, I am not quite sure we discussed this concept. Yes, MRTS is also, MRS we discussed clearly. MRTS is the slope of the isocont. Similar to the consumer theory, you can draw isocont. Indifference like indifference curve for a theory of firm, for a firm, isocont. Isocont is the combination of labor and capital that give the same output level. Slope of an isocont is called MRTS, marginal rate of technical substitution. MRTS. It indicates the substitutability of the two inputs. MRTS is very high, substitutability is very high. MRTS is very low, substitutability of two inputs very low, right? So MRTS 0 means no, you can't substitute the input labor capital at all. MRTS is very high, substitutability is very high. You can substitute. And these constants are the last year paper. This time, other thing is I expect, I don't know, I expect a relatively easy paper. Expect, this is my personal opinion. I have not seen, I am not the examiner of the for question setting. My intuition is most probably the examiners might ask easy questions. Now this is a very easy question paper. Why is that? The reason is actually we had lots of disturbances. We couldn't have the physical classes, and the discussions are not that high. You didn't ask. Mainly, you didn't ask question at all. That is the main thing for us. You never speak. I asked some other my colleagues also. They also say students don't talk. No questions. Now we are just talking to this the chairs and the tables, right? That's why one of the reasons why I don't like this arrangement, the online this session, because the students' response is very poor. Students, not only yourself, all the other classes also, students don't ask questions. We don't know. The thing is, we can't monitor. We can't monitor what you all are doing. Maybe you all are sleeping, because the record is there. So then you are not working at all. You are maybe engaging in some other activities. But some of the international schools, some of the exams, always the camera is on. You can see. You have to on the camera. And the lecturer teacher should see the students is in that in the class, in the house for that period. ICM, I don't know. I know some of these the classes with the uniform, they come all the time. They monitor student presence, but we don't know what you all are doing. You don't ask questions. That is one of the shortcomings, the problems in the issues in online sessions, because we don't know up to what point, what degree what percentage of lecturers the teaching is absorbed by the students. Anyway, okay. Now this question is very easy. The most economic concepts are expressed and the micro, explained by using both graphical illustrations and mathematical formula. Write mathematical formula for the following concepts along with graphical illustration. Now that is, of course, I can do that. Let me see any other the market micro questions. Yes, you can do that. I'll try to. Right. Now I'm going to write these the equations. You can see that. Demand curve. Standard linear form to express the law of demand and law of supply. Quantity demanded. A minus BP. A and B constant and positive. Example, maybe 10 minus the 3P UD. Supply QS. Don't worry about this, the minus 3, let's say 3 plus the C plus BP. Here the negative relationship, positive relationship. CD constant and positive. For example, QS equals the 3 plus the 0.5 P. This could be plus or minus, it doesn't matter, but it is the supply curve. Consumer surplus and producer surplus. Consumer surplus, demand curve, equilibrium price. Consumer surplus is the consumer surplus. Demand curve, this is the equilibrium price, the consumer surplus. Producer surplus, producer surplus is supply curve. You have to go to supply curve. SS, US, price, supply curve. Yes, this area. So what is consumer surplus and the producer surplus is that is the one. Utility maximizing condition with marginality of each item expressed proportional to its price the consumer has to pay. Yes, that is utility method one. This is second one. Third one. I think we discussed this condition in UX. At the utility maximizing point, mu y divided by py. This is the mathematical condition. Mux over px equals muy over py. Right. If you want to graphically, if you want to draw the graph, budget line, indifference curve, x and y. That is the maximizing point. X star, y star. You can take down whatever the things because I have drawn this. Please take down. Last part. Find cross price elasticity of demand of substitutes. Cross price elasticity of demand for substitutes. Find cross price elasticity of demand for substitutes. Now, cross price elasticity of demand positive for substitutes. Tea and coffee substitutes, if you calculate cross price elasticity, it is positive. But the CPD is negative. This is positive. CPD is negative. For complementary product. Complements. Tea and sugar, complementary goods. The cross price elasticity negative. Then what about this bread and guns? Cross price elasticity, bread and guns. If all the goods in the world, if you can divide these goods into two groups, positive, the positive and negative, substitutes and complements. No, there is another group, another category, the goods that are not related, bread and guns. So for that, CPD is 0. No related, non-related goods. Non-related goods. Non-related goods, right? CPD plus, minus, non-related, 0. That is also a micro question. So this time we discuss 2 micros. Yes. Yeah, we have lots of micro question. Question number 5 micro, 6 micro, 6 micro, 7 macro, 7 macro, 8 macro, 8 macro. Yes. 8 question, of course, I discuss in the paper, in the class, right? Question number 8, I discuss most of the questions. Please go to that micro question. Okay, now this question number 5. Question number 5. Compare, I'm sorry, you can't see now. Right. Question number 5 again is micro, yes. No, it's a combination of micro and macro, yes. Micro and macro. I will go to the question number 6. I'm not going to work out, but I'll tell you how to work out. This is again the standard question in most of the papers. Question number 6 or 7, you get the question from theory of firm. This is a question from theory of firm. Some numbers are given, quantities, total cost. Sometimes they give marginal cost. Ask you to calculate marginal cost, average cost, then the marginal cost. Now this question, they have given the table below shows the relationship between the level of output associated cost of manufacturing firm in a given day. The quantity, total cost. Quantity, total cost. Now this is a standard question. Now this, when you answer this question, you should be able to do the calculations. But definitions of these various issues. What is marginal cost? What is average cost? Total cost divided by the output. Marginal cost, change in total cost divided by the change in output. Marginal cost. Then now this question, calculate marginal cost, average total cost, that is average cost, and average variable cost. Average variable cost. Now, how do you calculate average variable cost? Is not there. Marginal cost you can calculate, change in cost. 138 minus 120 divided by 2 minus 1. 151 minus 138 divided by 3 minus 2. Finish. You can calculate up to that. Then you can't calculate marginal cost of the first unit. You can't calculate. Why is that? What is my, so then the average total cost is 120 divided by 1, 138 divided by 2, 151 divided by 3. Like that, you can calculate average total cost. Variable cost, you don't have information. Again, marginal cost of the first unit, you don't have information. Others, of course, you can calculate marginal cost. Marginal cost of the first unit, you don't have. You need, when company produce the first unit, 120. When firm does not produce any output, what is the cost? Fixed cost, 100. 100. So when output is 0, this is 100, fixed cost. That is fixed cost. Then marginal cost of the first unit is how much? 120 minus 120. 1 minus 0, 120 minus 100. That is the marginal cost. 20 is the marginal cost of first unit. That is the one answer. The other one is average variable cost. First, you have to calculate average, not because you calculate average variable cost. Variable cost is you subtract fixed cost from each of these. Why is that? We know total cost consists of variable cost plus fixed cost. Fixed cost is 100. Therefore, you deduct 120 minus 100, 138 minus 100, 151 minus 100, 160 minus 100. Like that, you calculate variable cost first. Variable cost, how do you calculate? Total minus fixed, total minus fixed, total minus fixed, total minus fixed. For example, variable cost of 10 units is 300 minus 100 is 200. After that, average. You calculate the average variable cost, divide this by the quantities and get the average variable cost. Right? So mathematically, if you have the conversion with the small calculations, ratios, this is a very easy question. Some definition. Now here you have to use the definition of marginal cost, definition of average cost, definition of variable cost. That's all you can calculate. Plot the values of marginal cost. That is important now. From my experience, of course, I can say the majority of the workers, students can draw this, but some students find difficulties in drawing these plots. So be familiar with this, how to draw. Use the curves, quantities, marginal cost, quantities, average cost, quantities, average variable cost, right? Sometimes you can draw, if you are clever enough to mark the scales properly, scale the axis, you can draw all three on one graph, right? Marginal cost curve, quantities versus quantities 1 to 10, marginal cost, y-axis. Quantities and the average cost, average variable cost, quantities, average variable cost. Now that's the easy questions. Then the easy question, these curves, drawing the curve. Now this is a standard question. This year also I expect this kind of easy calculation, the question with some calculation, right? This is not a difficult. Don't drop that question. Please try that. Now, from after this discussion, as I said earlier, please get the model answer. Model answer is with you. So then compare. Do that yourself by yourself. Don't just read out the answers. Keep the model answer and go to your notes. Read the question, go to your notes and answer. Then you compare with the model answer. Some students to get the model answer and just by heart these model answers. No, you don't get the similar question, same question this year. So therefore, best thing is to first you stick to your. I think I gave lots of handouts, presentations, quizzes. So you go to that and then first try the questions. If you are not in a position to answer properly, then you see go to the model answer. Right? Provide brief introduction to the concept of concept of cost elasticities and economies of scale, and comment on their relationship. Now, leave this the concept. Because the economies of scale is there are three types of economies of scale: the increase in return to scale, constant return to scale, decrease in return to scale. Like price elasticity or cost elasticities, change in the cost, percentage change in cost divided by percentage change in quantities, right? So percentage change in quantity divided by percentage change in cost, right? So that is when it is a percentage change in the quantity production for a unit change in cost. It is the economies of scale. We can say increase in return to scale when company double the inputs. For example, labor and capital. When the company double the inputs, if the output triples, we call it this company experience enjoying increase in return to scale. When the company double the inputs, output also doubles, we say that company has only constant return to scale. When company doubles the inputs, output not doubles, 1.5 times, then decreasing return to scale. Proper definition is the percentage change in when the percentage change in quantity production output higher than the proportionate change in inputs, we call increase return to scale. When the proportionate change in output is exactly same as the proportionate change in inputs, we say that there is constant return to scale. When the proportionate change in output is same as proportionate change, less than the proportionate change in inputs, we say decrease in return to scale. Briefly explain briefly with an illustration about a situation where the price faced by a perfectly competitive firm has reached the critical level of closing down the business. This you have to know. Now, the firm in a competitive industry is a price taker. He cannot change the price for their product, for its product that is determined by the market. That's why it is called price taker. Not accept. But the monopoly, price setter. They can decide the price. But the competitive firm is always price taker. But it is price. Price determined by all the consumers and all the firms. That is determined by the market forces. Then that price, firm has to accept that price and decide their production level. Whether to produce 10 units, 1,000 units, 200 units, but unit price same. Perfectly elastic demand curve. Company faces perfectly elastic demand curve. Elasticity infinity. Perfectly elastic demand curve. Right? Then now we have to draw, when you draw this curve, what is the MR curve or the demand curve? Curves. First you draw the MC curve, AC curve, AVC curve. The minimum point of the AVC curve is called the shutdown price, closing down price, critical level. In the short run, when market price falls, still they start producing, very high, firm can produce at a profit. But in between, firm will produce at a loss. That is interesting. You will produce, there is a price range, firm will produce at a loss in the short run. But there is a cutoff point. If price falls below that cutoff point, firm stop production. Short run, you have three cases. Firm produces, make profit. Second case, firm produces, make losses. Third case, firm does not produce at all. Right? So this demarcation point is the minimum point of the average variable cost. Please go to this the diagram, and I discuss one of the past paper questions also. Minimum point is the average variable cost. That is 4. Now, anyway, now I want to discuss, we don't have time, this is question number 2. Question number 2 briefly, macro. This is the one. The table below shows the fee Q, because this is I believe this time also you will get this kind of question. Please read the model answer and try this question. Understand same standard type questions. You are getting the standard question. Only thing is you have to answer the interrelations among the macroeconomic account. These are macro: GDP, GNI, gross national income, broad money supply, trade balance, budget deficit, official reserves, central government debt, annual average inflation. So these are actual numbers, right? Performance, sorry, table below shows a few macroeconomic indicators on the Sri Lankan economy selected from annual report. Question number 1, performance of which main sectors of the economy do the macroeconomic indicators in the table above reflect? Explain briefly by highlighting the specific sectors that each indicator is associated. Now, an economy, we divided real sector, monetary sector, fiscal sector, external sector, 4 sectors. Real sector, monetary sector, fiscal sector, external sector. That is the first part. Then you have to classify real sector. What are the indicators coming under real sector? GDP growth. Then GDP, GNI coming under the real sector. Broad money growth coming under the monetary sector. Trade balance coming under external sector. Budget deficit, trade balance, official reserves coming under the monetary sector. Sorry, coming under the external sector. I'll tell it again. Real GDP, real sector. Per capita GNI, real sector. Sometimes you include the annual average inflation also real sector. It is also included in the monetary sector also. Both are correct actually. But let's include real GDP, real sector. Per capita GNI, real sector. Broad money, monetary sector. Trade balance, external sector. Budget deficit, fiscal sector. Fiscal. Official reserves, external sector. Central government debt, fiscal sector. Annual average inflation, monetary sector. So you have the 4 sectors. You have to classify. That is the first question. First question they ask. They explain briefly by highlighting the specific sectors. Then after that you have to highlight. For example, real sector. What has happened to the real sector? GDP continuously coming down. Per capita income increasing, but 17 to 18 per capita GNI has dropped. That's a drop. US dollar 6 to then $5 drop. 82 to 16 to 17 increase, but this 17 to 18 drop is mainly due to the exchange rate depreciation. Exchange rate depreciation, right? The economy is growing. Real growth is there, but the exchange rate depreciation, when you convert rupee value into the dollar value, if you use the higher denominator, value decreases. That is not the any other reason, because of depreciation. Now the 2019 also there's a drop, the depreciation. I believe no. I believe slight increase. Yes, I think I gave you this 2019 annual report data table. Please go through that. No, but if there is a drop on GNI, gross national income per capita, mainly due to the exchange rate depreciation. Then money supply, money growth is coming down. This is a good indicator. Monetary growth is coming down. Monetary sector growth is coming down, 18.4, 16.7, 13. What will happen? Accordingly, then, for example, inflation rate 6.6, 4.3. This, of course, you can see clearly, but there's a drop in inflation here, 6.62, 4.3, right? But the real issue is fiscal issue. Central government debt is rising, 78.769, huge growth in central government debt. Debt increases. Debt increases. When debt increases, government will have to service the debt, pay this debt. When the government try to pay this debt, government doesn't have money for other purposes. Meet the investment expenditure or meet the current expenditure. So then they have to borrow from the finance, budget deficit increases. So again, you have to borrowing increases. It's a vicious cycle. Debt increases, budget deficit increases. Again, financing component increases, debt increases, right? The other thing is the side effect is investment will go down. The current expenditure also, you have to rationalize the current expenditure if possible, right? These are the thing. Official reserves, not a big issue, but again, there's a drop. Official reserves, 7.9 to 6.9, 1 billion drop, 1 billion drop. 6 to 7, it's not quite okay. Increase, there is an increase, but 7.8 to 7, 1 billion drop in official reserve. Now you have to, that's why I said that this question is easy. By looking at these numbers vertically or horizontally, to give your indicator, you get marks. Now this is a very easy question. You get marks. Your observation, you just say increase or decrease and some implications, why it is bad, why, for example, economic growth is falling. It is bad. Why that economic growth is falling? Then the thing is, employment, economic activities are falling. Investments falling. No new economic activities. Then what will happen? Employment generation decreases. So economic growth rate is a key indicator of any economy, any economy. Therefore, it is the problem here. Economic growth rate is falling. Per capita GNI, no issue. It is a mainly due to the technical issue, depreciation. Based on information, now this question number 3 is mainly identify an indicator from among those governed that is used by the World Bank. Income, the indicator is GNI. Using this GNI, per capita income, they classify countries into upper. Sri Lanka is falling under the upper middle income country. So the now it is upper middle income country according to GNI, per capita income. Provide a brief introduction to official reserves and state the institutions which manages official reserves in Sri Lanka. Official reserves are managed by Central Bank of Sri Lanka. Reserves, official reserves are maybe official reserves mainly consist of if there is a balance of payment surplus or deficit, then the IMF borrowings, IMF give grants, other loans, the dollar loans coming to the country, either government or the other countries, unutilized loans. If the government convert these dollars into rupees, you don't have reserve. But as long as you kept these borrowings, loans at the dollar account, that's coming under reserves, right? Reserves, right? So I think we discussed a little bit more about the external sector financing. This is two major macroeconomic conditions. That's why we discussed this. So second question, about the issues based on information given table, issues about macroeconomy. Okay. Now I don't have. Now we are going to stop the session. Please think about the important points. You have to answer 5 questions. First question compulsory. 4 more questions. Then 4 more questions. Selection of questions is very important. Reading time, 15 minutes for reading time. Think about that. Don't cut any of the answers. Whether if you feel they are not that good, don't cut those answers. Let examiners to cut the answer, do that job. Then the other thing is, the most important thing is, try all 5. You are supposed to answer 5. Don't try to just to finish 2 questions completely. That's a very bad. That's very bad. Try to, if you are supposed to answer 5, try all 5, right? So sometimes some students, okay, they are trying hard to finish, complete 1 or 2 questions completely. No. At least if you can answer only one part of the question, try that. Answer that, right? Okay, good luck. So any clarifications? I think we are going to have revision sessions. I'm not quite sure whether you all can attend. I think there's a payment involved. No? The October 10th is my date. I'll be doing the revision. So I believe you have to pay for that one. So the IBSL. Anyway, good luck. Good luck. I am not saying 100%, 95% of the syllabus, more than 95% syllabus we covered. So you can easily get a pass, right? Don't worry. Thank you very much for listening to my sessions. So we will see you. Bye.